Just cheer up. Change your mindset, right?
Okay, done.
Yeah, done,
Magic.
right? And that wasn't working.
I was like, yeah, I am an entrepreneur, Dad.
You're not in danger. And in fact, there's opportunity here right on the table.
I feel like I'm talking to my therapist. I'm learning so much about myself. I'm like, what is my motivator?
This is episode Ashish Bhatia, camera, marker.
Starting a business isn't about having all the answers. It's about learning to think differently. That's what Ashish Bhatia, professor of entrepreneurship at NYU Stern, teaches his students every day. He's mentored hundreds of founders and co-authored a study on how schools around the world teach entrepreneurship in completely different ways. In this conversation, Ashish shares how to rewire your thinking, challenge common myths about creativity and risk, and move from I have an idea to I built this. Ashish, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm excited to have this conversation.
It's fantastic to be here. Thank you, Andrea, for inviting me.
So you often talk about how when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's not just about mindset, it's about rewiring your brain. What does that mean?
The thing is about mindset is that those are temporary feelings,
Yeah.
and those feelings can fade. So in my classroom and in my work, I really work on helping people change their logic, right? Many of us have been brought up in a world where we're thought to be think like a manager, where we're trying to plan for the future, to minimize risk, to wait until things are ready to get started. But to become entrepreneurial, you really have to do kind of all the opposite. You have to start before you're sure. You have to take stock of who you are and see that actually you are entrepreneurial in the way that you're creating new things. And when you see risk, you don't see a blinking light that says danger. Instead, you see that the uncertainty is allowing for new opportunities.
Do you have any examples on how that is applied through your students?
Yeah. So, I'll give you a personal example,
Okay.
right? So I used to be dreadfully afraid of flying. So early on, I realized I have to do something about this, right? And so, on one hand, you talk to your friends and they're like, oh, you should just be more brave. It's fine. Just cheer up. Change your mindset, right? And that's
Okay, done.
yeah, done,
Magic.
right? And that wasn't working.
Right.
So instead, I worked on changing my logic and my thinking. And, I bought a book that helped me understand how planes worked. I learned about the safety around travel. I learned about and started to really examine the feelings that I had when I was on the plane, right? And so when I reached for the armrests, instead of thinking oh my God, I'm saving myself, I was understanding this is your body feeling danger, but there is no danger.
Mm-hmm.
It really required a rewire. And I think people are just the same with entrepreneurship, right? They see that uncertainty of creating something new. They get that fear of being judged or being this first person to take the risk of trying something new. And they clench up, they get scared, right? And so it's about rewiring the way you think to recognize that this is okay. You're not in danger. And in fact, there's opportunity here right on the table.
I lacked that from my education, my own education, really thinking about my mindset, really going there and thinking about feelings and how that impacts the work you do and how you see the world and what you bring to the table in any environment that you're in, be it entrepreneurship, business, corporate, wherever you are. And so you going there with your students, I think, is so impactful. I can only imagine how that influences their confidence in being able to take that next step when they want to create something.
A core part of my teaching is a consistent cycle on reflection. So students are reflecting before they come in my class, they're reflecting 3 or 4 times during the class, and they're reflecting at the very end of the class. I give them lots of little assignments that are building that entrepreneurial muscle. But it doesn't mean anything if they don't stop to reflect on well, how did that feel?
Mm-hmm.
What were the feelings that you encountered? And how are you going to get over it the next time? So to me, it's completely essential to the curriculum.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable.
Have you ever had an experience where a student goes to your class and they're like, you know what? Thank you, but I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be an entrepreneur. Thank you very much. I'm going to go to my 9 to 5 now.
Oh, yes, 100%. I remind them, you signed up for this for a reason. So you have to give it a fair shot. So take this semester to give it a fair shot, to really examine and to give it a good try. And if at the end you've decided like, oh, actually, I've really learned a lot about myself and I need more certainty, I need more structure, that's a great result.
I think that's an outcome. A lesson learned is still a great outcome. Any lesson.
Yeah.
Talk to me about entrepreneurial intelligence. You also talk about that a lot.
I've been thinking about it a lot right now because, the craze is around artificial intelligence.
Sure.
It's important to stop and look at like how artificial intelligence works, right? It is, large language models that are trained on our past data, our past patterns of all the world. And then it is making predictions about what we want in the future.
Mm-hmm.
The human mind is able to do that too. We've been doing it forever. Entrepreneurs do something a little bit more different on top of that. They're going into the dark tunnel of uncertainty, trying to build something that we're not really sure whether it's going to work or what it should be or how it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they're navigating that, they're going to have to rely on things other than past data. And they've been doing this forever, right? So they rely on their empathy for their customer and trying to really build a connection and understand something of them, their imagination about what this product could be or what the future could look like that is coming out of thin air from their own heads, right? Or from their intuition, from past experiences that can give them valuable kind of gut feelings that we actually know have meaning and data in them. And so all of these different logics that they're using are really important and make up what I call entrepreneurial intelligence.
And that is the foundation that takes you then to be ready to go from idea to building.
I think so. Traditionally in entrepreneurship, the emphasis is really from an economic perspective.
Yes.
And it's evaluating the market conditions to see that, is there an opportunity for a business to exist?
Mm-hmm.
The way that I kind of explain this to my students is I kind of make that analogy to, if a tree is fallen and no one's around to hear it, do you hear it, right? And so it's the same thing with a market opportunity. I think economists will tell you that one can predict that there is an opportunity just based on the data that we have on the market. But increasingly, I think people are recognizing that actually, we can't just use a market assessment of the world. That's only one lens, right? That's going to kill off your imagination if you're only looking for where the market opportunity is. But going from taking an idea and making it a reality, I have some more like specific steps that anybody can use.
Sure.
So step one is to write it down. It seems so obvious, but maybe you could create 3 slides. What's the problem that I'm looking at? What's the solution that I've kind of have in my head? And maybe a slide on how it works. The second step would be to share it, but you have to do it in a certain way for it to be effective. So who are you most likely to share your idea with? Like
my husband.
There you go. Most people are going to share it with a spouse, a friend, a family member, somebody that's close to them.
Mm-hmm.
And when you share something that seems kind of important to them, they're going to say, oh, it's great, honey. I love it.
Yeah.
Right? So you got to work against that force right away. And so instead of saying, oh, what do you think of this idea? You need to say, I have this idea. I think it's not there. Do you think you could help me think about like what's wrong with it or how it could be better? You're inviting them to the conversation. All of a sudden, you got a ton of free ideas coming from your friend, your spouse, whoever it is that you're working with. And your idea is going to move so much faster than if you try to protect it and kind of hide from the judgment that people are going to give you.
Why do you think that is that we don't share our ideas?
Well, there's 2 reasons. One is we're scared people are going to take them.
Sure.
And the reality is most ideas are already floating out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever your idea is, you're going to Google it and someone's already working on it.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't dissuade you. It's about, okay, well, what's your angle to it? The second reason that I think people are scared of sharing their ideas is that we are naturally scared of judgment, right? It's not comfortable to have worked on something or to think like to have a spark and feel creative and then show it to someone and have them just rain all over it and say, yeah. This is not great.
Yeah. I don't like that feeling. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's happened to me. I think I've started getting comfortable with it and I sort of need people to be critical. When I give out my ideas, I'm like, okay, don't tell me it's great. Criticize it. Give me something to work on. I almost crave now hearing the negative parts because we can make it better. So I think there's a beauty in it, but I don't think I'll ever fully enjoy it.
Yeah, it's not an enjoyable
No.
process, but you do build practice and you get better at receiving that feedback.
So talk to me about the third part.
The third step is trying to find a way that you might be able to test some part of your idea. Some people, particularly in the academic circles, will tell you to, don't build it until you're sure you have a customer.
Sure.
The logic is, well, we don't want to waste valuable resources on building something that people aren't going to want. But sometimes our creativity needs to engage with the idea a little bit further. So we need to actually go and try it out, build it out a little bit, and kind of see what it is. Because maybe we couldn't express the idea just in words or in a deck or in a way that gets feedback. And so I'm of the mind that if it's important enough to you to test something out and it's not going to lose you, a night's sleep in terms of financial risk, then it might be worth you trying it out to see what works.
I'd love to know what you think is one myth in business that we would finally retire.
Yeah, I think we need to retire that entrepreneurs are these natural born risk takers. And that's just simply not the reality.
Yeah.
The reality is that risk is everywhere. And so a lot of us see risk and we see it as danger. But entrepreneurs, they see an opportunity and they're valuing that opportunity more than not doing the opportunity. So they're completely rational, right? They're worried about regret. They're like, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret that I didn't do this. And so it's really a shame because there's too many smart and capable people that are stuck sitting on the sidelines thinking, well, I'm not this bold entrepreneur. And instead of trying to be fearless, they just need to start before they're sure.
I'm thinking of myself now because I've never heard it from the perspective of they just don't want to regret not doing it. And oftentimes when I think of starting a business, I think, am I going to regret trying this? Because I love what I'm doing now. So why?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. And so what we're stumbling upon is there's this tension between this idea on one hand of opportunity cost.
Yeah.
So the way to get around or to kind of rewire yourself on this is this concept called affordable loss. So it's not about thinking about what are you giving up. Entrepreneurs or anybody kind of being entrepreneurial, creating a new initiative, starting a business, starting a project, they're accepting that there's some downside, but you're recognizing that this other thing that I want to do, I really want to do it. And I'm going to look at these things I'm giving up and I'm going to accept it, knowing that it's not the end of the world. It's just the end of this particular moment here.
I'm going to take this home now because a lot of the entrepreneurs that we speak with on This Is Small Business, they took a leap. They took some comfortable part of their lives and decided to do something completely different and leave that comfort. And there's this idea that at one point you reach a certain level and you're like, oh, I did it, woohoo, but not really. It just keeps getting harder in a different way.
Yeah, that rewiring of opportunity cost versus accepting a certain amount of risk, it's not a one and done, right? So you decide that today and you launch your business. 6 months from now, you're doing okay, but it's not as great as you wanted it to be. You got to play that game again.
Yeah.
Am I dealing myself in on this business again? Or do I want to go back and try to do something else, right? When am I hanging up the towel? And it's hard. It is 100% hard. Every entrepreneur I talk to is completely exhausted. But when I ask them if they know why they're doing it, they usually feel pretty certain in the path that they've taken, right? There's still this kernel of confidence that I get why I'm doing this. This is something I want. I am valuing this more than the other thing that I had.
That's so inspiring to hear that they have a very clear why. Because I think a lot of the conversations with entrepreneurs is you have to start way, way back from there. Why are you doing this? It has to be strong.
Yeah. My answer to your opportunity cost question was to know what you value more.
Right.
Right. So if you're going to need to know what you value more, you really have to do some self-reflection to be like, is this the thing that's going to give me satisfaction? right? So one of the tools I use with my students is thinking about your career motivator. And so if we're going to be talking about your career, I need to help you think about what are your motivations? Are you motivated by money? Are you motivated by prestige? Are you motivated by security, right? That you need to make a certain amount of money to survive. You got to make sure those things are aligned with your actions. And that's really what needs to happen when you're navigating that opportunity cost. And what we find with entrepreneurs, a lot of them value autonomy much more than some of those other things that I said, right? And so they're willing to give up maybe a bit of prestige or give up actually a little bit of money, but it's their own. It's their own thing, and they're happy because it's their own. They have that autonomy.
I feel like I'm talking to my therapist. I'm learning so much about myself. I'm like, what is my motivator? You've already given us so much content and great approaches to thinking about entrepreneurship from many different ways. Your advice to early stage founders, young founders, the next generation, if you will, about how they can turn their ideas into sustainable growth.
Yeah, I think the big tip that I would give folks is not to fall in love with your idea. I think you should fall in love with the process over the product.
Okay.
Right? So you can absolutely work on the same problem and the same solution area, but don't be obsessed with that particular expression of that idea, because you need to be flexible enough for it to change and to get feedback on how it can evolve and grow. The other tip I would say is to be really focused on time. So let's say you're starting something out right now as a new person. You want to think about time in two ways. One, you're going to give yourself enough time, right? So some people say, I'm going to work on this for a week. It's like, that's not going to go anywhere, right? Give yourself 6 months to work on something, to build it out, to see if this is something that you really want to pursue. But while you're giving yourself 6 months, make sure you're also moving fast, because momentum is really important. There's so much uncertainty flying at you that's giving you signals that you're going in the wrong direction.
Sure.
So you kind of have to go doubly as fast at the beginning so that you can quickly learn and kind of feel a sense of like, wait, I'm making some progress, right? So it's being flexible on your idea, keeping momentum, and setting some kind of parameters on how long you're going to work on something.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Ashish, thank you so much for being with us on This is Small Business.
All right. Thank you so much.
That's it for this episode of This is Small Business, brought to you by Amazon. If you're into stories about what it's really like to build a brand, grow online, and keep up with everything entrepreneurship throws your way, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode. I'd also love to hear from you, so drop a comment and tell us your biggest takeaway or what part of this conversation inspired you the most. Until next time, hasta luego, and thanks for watching.